So I was doing a bit of reading, something I'm really not inclined to do most of the time, but I got kind of a late start on work today, so I'm training, I suppose. So I decided for whatever reason, oh, that's what it was. Yeah, so I'm, in my area of town, there's like this known sort of Union district. It's an area called the Union District, and they have these flags that say Union District on them. And for most of my life being here, I've not paid attention to any of that kind of detail. And since I was kind of out and about in the area, and I noticed those flags, and I'm like, does that have something to do with unions and whatever? And of course, this area of town's got like businesses kind of lining this this main road that people are commonly using, Sprague Avenue's big stretch of road from the valley to city. It's a main intersectional road for like determining sort of our sections of the city, right? North, east, south, west. So it's Sprague and Division where those meet. So very old roads and a very old part of town. And yeah, I'm like, is there union stuff going on in this part of town? And I think there still is a good amount of stuff like that. There's some artwork that I've seen referencing it, and I've seen like some of those. Oh God, I couldn't recall the numbers, but they got those unions with the numbers in front of them for whatever, like trade classification or industry and whatnot. So yeah, there's a bit of that going on around here, and I wanted to learn more about it because I wasn't sure if it was historical. I figured it was, and anyway, I came across some. This is, an AI overview. It's cut together, but the sources are. So we got HistoryLink.com, Spokesman Review, NWPB.org. Are the sources for this information here, and it's saying that Spokane has a massive and historical significant labor history. In the early 1900s, the city was the epicenter of the famous free speech fight. The battles were fought by the Industrial Workers of the World, the IWW, or Wobblies, against the city industrialists and local employment agencies. These union fights were characterized by the spark. The IWW ran a Don't Buy Jobs campaign against local employment agencies, often called job sharks, that took kickbacks from assigning men to grueling, low-paying logging and mining jobs. So I'm going to just list the characteristics here. We got the spark, the ban, the free speech fight, the clashes, and the aftermath. So we're on the ban. To silence the unions, the Spokesman Review really did a number on those unions. Now, actually, maybe, I don't know, have to look into that. Let's see, the ban. To silence the unions, the Spokane City Council passed an ordinance in 1909 banning public street meetings and soapbox speeches. The free speech fight. The IWW responded with massive civil disobedience. Union members flooded into Spokane and took turns standing on overturned carts to speak, intentionally getting arrested. The clashes. Over 500 people, including the fiery young organizer Elizabeth Grueling Flynn, were thrown into overcrowded jails, leading to allegations of police brutality. The aftermath? Following months of national publicity and financial strain on the city's resources, that's a big... I want to emphasize this. Following months of national publicity and financial strain on the city's resources, the Spokane City Council unanimously repealed the ban in 1910. So, it doesn't give the months, but you know, we can presume roughly 6 months. I feel like it's like, you know, it's a good, safe kind of guess there. 4 to 6 months. I can't imagine it being, you know, 9 months to 10 months on something like that. That economic strain to take that on. Which, I guess, economic strain in this context is, you know, probably just like people lining their pockets, not getting, you know, as much, and they're kind of like, oh shit, you know, we're getting close to the point where we might not get, you know, see profits out of this or something, you know, or it might cut into our, I don't know, the amount that we're actually due, perhaps. I don't know how all that works, but you can imagine it, you know, that they weren't suffering, but they were probably, they could more realistically see that happening if it continued, and that's really kind of fucked up. Like, we gotta make ourselves suffer. I do feel like this information, it something about it makes me feel, it just, I don't know how to describe it, motivated, inspired, and more confident in my position to continue with CRISP, you know, and that it's not this needless service, and I'm just kind of like shoehorning it in, you know, or something like that. Like, no, I do feel more now than before that that is what I need to be doing, and slowly but surely, I don't want to trip over my own feet trying to rush that out there, you know. I need to make sure that I'm positioned properly, because, oh man, there's a part of me that just wants to go all in on it, you know. I'm that kind of guy at times. I've been that kind of guy for sure, and I'm just like, you know, I've worked on it in other areas of things, but, you know, it blindsides me sometimes, because I'll be working on something I'd never worked on before, and you know, I'm just getting started, and here I go, diving all in, and I'm like, wait a sec. You know, I've done this before, or, you know what I mean. So yeah, that's something that I definitely have struggled with myself, and amongst other, you know, things, and maybe there's like, that would be nice to kind of open up discussions about those types of things. I really feel like people don't talk about that stuff enough, you know, on, and that could be just like my sort of insular nature. I don't really get out enough to maybe have those conversations, and so my kind of take on that is coming from like workspaces and you know, just professional settings, and not like the realness. So that could be on me, but I'm sure there's plenty of people who also have that kind of experience, and I guess a space like this to open that up, and it's just like, hey, yeah, you know, here's my fucking flaws and whatever, and to know that that's something that we're going way off track, but nevertheless, that's something that you can do, and I think it makes it easier to work on that. So, opening that door as well. Yeah, it was just a short one here. Oh, there was a note I missed, though. Yeah, the IWW's legacy in Spokane set a national precedent for using mass nonviolent civil disobedience for to protect First Amendment right. Yeah, national precedent in 1910. That's pretty cool. Oh, there were strikes. How do I miss these things? I need to read more. Would you like to explore more Spokane? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Would you like to explore more of Spokane's labor history, such as the major logger strikes of 1917? Okay, so there were strikes if several years down the road. That I probably would read more into. And yeah, I guess like something that I struggle with getting into these articles, unfortunately, is I tend to only look into these things when I have a question to be answered, you know, and so it's good to have these sources. You don't just want to rely on these AI overviews, because if we all did that, and I tend to do this with things, I look at things in terms of, if we all did this, even if that's obviously like an unrealistic expectation, obviously that's never going to happen with anything, you know, we're not going to all do the same shit. So even if like a majority of people, for example, just looked at these AI overviews, people would stop writing articles. And I guess in a sense that's kind of started, you know, there's AI being used to write articles, because like, well, if people aren't reading the articles and Google's just scrubbing our information here with, you know, for their AI overviews, and that's something, you know, unionize around that. Fucking, you know, hey, we don't want our articles being, I guess I know Google's like the premier fucking search engine you can't get away from, but there's a way. There's a way to deliver these bits of information on other platforms such as Discord, perhaps. I know that that's not ideal, but hey, unionize, push, and collaborate in a way that's, you know, it makes it easy to find these. At least they link it, you know, to the more in-depth articles. But let's be real, people didn't read these articles. Well, maybe some people read the articles for like the tertiary info. I feel like I want my questions answered, and that's that. More detail could be like used to sort of help create a more balanced, informed opinion. But I just keep that in mind anyway, and like, hey, there might be like other bits of information, and don't just like form up your view, you know, based on this limited, these questions that are being answered, because you can wind up in that trap of building your narrative and seeking that information. But then again, if your question is like answered in a way that you weren't expecting, then I guess like you're not really narrative building necessarily. But it's always good to have more context, more information, so that you don't wind up trapping yourself in creating a false narrative. But it's a tough one, because it does really make it more likely for me to read something at all if, you know, I have a tool like this that I can parse this information and get to the crux of what I want to know about. I don't want to know, like if I'm going on a website to look for a recipe, I don't want to fucking scroll down for a mile, you know, getting past your fucking story about like how you came up with this to get to the recipe. They should more often separate that into like tabs, like, hey, you know, here's the recipe, and then like under the person's account or whatever on that post, they got a tab for here's the ingredients, here's how you put those together, here's my story, and then maybe something like that, because for fuck's sake, I hate that, because I'll do that all the time. I'm scrolling all the way down trying to find them ingredients, and that's what I'm looking for. You know, I can well enough figure out how to put it together.